Okay. So, which all colleges you are from? I can see some of my old students from RB. Yeah. Which college you guys are from? NIP Bangalore. RB. Okay. So, which all colleges you are from? What is this? I can see some of my old students from RB. Yeah. Automatically. NIP Bangalore. RB. So, which all colleges you are from? I can see some of my old students.
स्पीकर बंद कर
Automatically.
एक मिनट इसको now it won't come. Yeah.
Okay, so how did you come to know about this? You saw it in Instagram, right? You guys, it's what's community, right? So it's the first time you guys are in NID. So let's have a good day today. So with that, we'll start. So I will show one of my projects, which is related to accessible design. I was a student here in the same campus in universal design. Hope you all know what universal design is a little bit. So it's all about designing for everyone, making things easy. So it also deals with different areas like graphic design, interaction design, product design. So irrespective of the department or discipline that we deal with, we make things easy for people. So I was a student of that, and I'm showing you one of my projects, which was started as a student, then I continued doing it. So it is about how can you make your homes better. All right. So you must have noticed there are so many. If you have grandparents in your home, but they find it difficult to deal with many things, right? Like they might fall down in the washroom, or uh, after a while, if sitting in a chair, they might, uh, you know, have back pain, things like that. So how do we deal with it? So that was the core idea of this project. So in general, we call when everything is set based on the people who are using it, it's called accessible design, which means the design is done in such a way that it caters to everyone at home, right? An accessible home is suitable for children who are very young to people who are very old. So how do we make a home accessible for everyone? That was the brief of this project. Okay. Now, like you all know, we start with primary research where we go to the field and understand, speak with people. So there is a big community here which is called Platinum City. So I have interviewed around 20-25 old couple and adults also. So what I came to know was there were a lot of problems in their homes. One simple example is a lot of senior citizens, they were afraid of the water heater. They felt that it might burst when it gets hot. Simple thing. It's because of the size of it. So if it would have been an instant heater, then it is sorted. So there are small things which makes life difficult for such, senior citizens. So my focus here was mostly for senior citizens above the age of 60. Yeah. So according to a study by Department of Empowerment DEPWD, only 3% of buildings in India are accessible. Accessibility I just explained to you. So only 3%, which includes office spaces and hospitals, etc. So you compare the number of houses which are accessible, it's very less. So it's a need of the time when we'll have to build houses in such a way that it's accessible for everyone and retrofit already existing houses so that it becomes suitable for it. The two things: building new houses which are accessible and retrofitting furniture and products in a house which makes them accessible. These are the two ideas we take.
Good morning. Good morning to all of you, the students who are coming from different places for this introduction. We are very happy and delighted to have you here. We are equally happy and delighted to have our panelists who are also our students. Hi Nambi, hi Shreyan, hi Ganesh. Lovely to have you here. It's a good combination of having physical and online because the world is going into flexibility mode. So I think we gear for that also. Um, I'm sorry I was a little delayed. No reasons. It's just that I'm aging. I got very slow today. And so I really thank you all my students to put up this wonderful event for us today, where we could engage with all the new faces coming to NID to understand us much better. I am Jagrati. I lead interaction design here at NID Bangalore. I've been in NID for more than 19 years now. Um, Cultural aspects, interaction, user experience. These are some terms that we use. Very beautifully, Atul has just shared one of his projects, and this sets a tone to something which is very, very valuable in today's time when we look at communities who need accessibility, help, uh, and something that needs to be there, not being asked, but just need to be there. Thank you, Atul, for sharing that with us. Just to give you a quick introduction of what these are, a couple of things that we keep doing every year, and we keep it usually on 26th September, that being an International Interaction Day, Interaction Design Day, but we couldn't do this time being the logistic issue, and because it was difficult for you guys to come in, it was not a weekend. So, just to facilitate this whole exercise of having people from outside and also accommodating our own students who can join us online from India and from abroad. So, we thought that it's a good time to have you have this kind of a conversation on Saturday. Having said that, just a quick introduction of why this day or why do we really have such events is because NID NID in general and interaction design in specific as a department is engaged into a lot of these explorations which will touch our lives in many ways, right? Digital India being the hub of all the digital activities, and I think how fast we are growing, it is very, very challenging for people even outside India to really understand how India is growing in their digital space. And so we are leveraging this, and we also understand that all our the entire population, be it elderly, younger generation, middle aged, require some kind of an assistance or help or know-how to live better and facilitate the tasks, make it very simple. So without this much of delay, we've already a little bit delayed. So we will start with the panel discussion. We have our three interesting and the most fascinating young boys here who were here a few years back with us. So Nambi is joining us from Berlin, Germany, and he is the senior designer, Garrett Volkswagen, and he is working in usability testing, accessibility design, AI tools to design like Lovable, Replit, and all that. We have with us Ganesh. Ganesh, good morning. Ganesh is here in Bangalore, but he's joining us online. And Ganesh is working with Eightfold, designing for AI, SaaS enterprise design tools, building solid portfolios. He's working on many different aspects like acing whiteboarding exercises, uh, and he also helps interview preparations, and he would like to come to NID, where we often invite our own alumni to engage. So I think these are a lot of experiences that our students have got in industry, and that's what is so nice to see them giving back to the alma mater. We have with us Shreyan. Shreyan is directly joining from San Francisco. He is UX lead in YouTube Identity Google, and uh, he's been a very his work has been very interesting even from the time that he was here. If you all remember, we all use GPay, yeah. So he was the first student who took his internship at Google when he was here, and the project was called Tej. And the project Tej has now become the Google GPay. So I think it's an interesting journey for us to see him grow there, as well as our other panelists. So without further anything else, three of you would like to add? If I've missed something, I've been
No,
very
ma'am,
brief.
I just want to thank you. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear
Yes.
you.
Yeah. Thanks, ma'am. Thanks for this introduction. Thanks to the entire student community organizing body. Thanks to all the people who have come today. I know it's a Saturday morning. People, I can see their commitment being there, participating in this designathon. So thanks to all of you.
Yeah, huge thank you, Jagriti ma'am. It's great to see you after such a long time. And yeah, you nailed it. I'm like super excited to kind of contribute back to uh, my college.
Yeah, thanks for the sweet intro, Jagriti ma'am. I know it's
Ganesh, you're frozen.
thank.
We lost a bit what you said in the last, Ganesh.
Yeah, I was just saying. I mean, she mentioned just few years ago. I'm saying it's been a decade since we were all in the campus. So we really miss being there and hope to see you all soon again there in person. Do we get started?
Yes.
So, okay. Ganesh, I think we can begin with you. You are
Yeah, Nambi wanted to go first, so
Yeah, sure, Ganesh, I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start with my introduction.
because
Ma'am, you're saying something?
no, I think so. Nothing. You're not the technical skills, I think. All right. Am I? Am I?
Yes, you can talk now.
Am I? Does it? Oh, yes. Captain?
Yeah, hello.
Am I audible now?
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, I think maybe you can begin.
Okay, cool. So I'll start with my introduction, and also I've made a small presentation on this topic of everyday objects, which I will share, and then we can continue with the panel discussion. Hello, everyone. I am Nambirajan, and I currently live and work in Berlin. I work as a senior product designer in CareerAd, which is actually an abbreviation for Car I Am Digital. It is a subsidiary of Volkswagen, the car brand, and they started this as kind of like their IT wing to help with designing, developing their mobile applications, web applications, not just that, but also car technology like assisted driving and all the other tools that go into a car. Now, the car is not just a car, but it's a computer, which probably all of you know. So I currently work in Berlin, and before this, I was working in Bangalore, and I made the move from Bangalore to Berlin in 2022, 3 years ago. And in Bangalore, I was working for Walmart, which is one of the e-commerce giants, and they had a global capacity center in Bangalore, and I was working in their international design team and working for this specific brand called Sam's Club. If you know that, it's an international brand in Mexico. And it's a based brand. And for them, I was working on their Android app for redesigning their Android app, iOS app, for creating new features like pickup and delivery slots for users. So that was one of my best work in Bangalore, was in Walmart. If some of you guys are thinking about joining GCCs, especially Walmart, I would highly endorse them. And I also worked in a few more startups before that, like for example, Paytm. And I was working in Paytm in about 2016, 2017, during the time when demonetization happened. So any of you have memories of demonetization and then the boom in fintech payments that happened after that? So I was able to be part of that kind of a revolution that happened at that time. And before all of that, I was doing my post graduation in NID Bangalore. And when I joined NID Bangalore, it was called Design for Digital Experience, which later became Interaction Design. And it was from 2013 till about 2016. And during this, I also had an opportunity to do my semester exchange in Zurich. And that's where I got introduced to some of the design aspects in Europe, design work that happens there. And then later that helped me make the move from India to Europe. So yes, that's a little bit about myself. Yeah, before that, I was working in TCS. This has happened after my engineering days. I did my engineering in GCT Coimbatore, and my hometown is actually from Tamil Nadu, Tirunelveli. Some of you might know about it. And yeah, that's a little bit about my work life. Personally, I'm married, I have a kid, we live here, and I'm also interested. My hobbies are YouTubing. Probably Shane can help me with a few YouTube tips. And reading, I like to read, and also I like to traveling few places in and around here, and yoga and stuff like that. So, that's a little bit about myself. Coming to today's topic of everyday objects and how AI can transform them, I made a small presentation. And my idea of creating this is to kind of inspire you to imagine how AI can transform these objects. And as you probably already know, the AI revolution is upon us. Probably some of you have already started using ChatGPT, Claude to design, to develop, to wipe code. And so how can you use those AI technology for objects in our real life? So I've got the small ideas, kind of want to inspire all of you with these ideas. And then I believe today is about participating in the designathon. I want to also know how you guys use these ideas or create your own ideas to transform objects with AI. Okay, so let me share my screen so that you can see the presentation. Can you see the presentation?
Yes,
Hello?
yes.
Yes? Okay, cool. So let me make it a bit interactive. And I have a question. So this is a very popular quote from a science fiction author, and I want to know what comes in the blank. Anyone knows about it? Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from? What is the last word? I can't hear anyone from the audience. Anyone from the audience who knows this?
I think the room is muted.
Yeah, we can't hear you, ma'am. I can see that you are having the mic, but I can't see anyone.
Which mic is working? Now it's working. Now it's working. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So any answers?
Magic.
Is it
Magic.
magic?
Magic is correct.
Good answer.
Yes. So that's been kind of like the trend from, I don't know, whenever science and technology started impacting us. In the early part of the 20th century, when movies came, there is this story probably you have heard. When the early projections of train moving on a screen was made, people are like shocked and they're trying to dodge away from the screen because it was like magic to see moving images on the screen. It was magic when first telephone calls are made. It was magic when first internet happened. It was magic when you can first see the touch screen and access the mobile web. The magic has kept on transforming, and now the new magic is artificial intelligence. When you go to ChatGPT and you say, ask a question, it responds to you, you build that conversation. It is magic that you can also design from it, you can develop from it, it writes code for you, it creates its test scenarios, it does all sorts of things. So the new magic is AI. So how do we build this magic into everyday objects is what I want to focus on. Okay, so probably all of you have heard of it, seen of it, probably had it in your homes. What is this? Gulu, right? Navaratri celebrations are happening. Probably some of you have got it in your homes. And I just had this imagination, how could these objects be if you can have, let's say, LLMs, large language models integrated in them, AI integrated in them. I now stay in Berlin. I have a kid, but she misses the storytelling from her grandmother. Imagine millions of kids in India from around the world who can have these kind of storytellers in these objects. Imagine when Rama and Sita, these objects come together, these dolls come together, these Golu artifacts come together. They can build these stories from their own stories, from our own like rich heritage of culture, and also build a conversation with you. So that is one possible aspect of how you can integrate AI in your culture. Um, yeah, this can also be connected to Channapatna toys. If you remember, in Bangalore, there is a center for Channapatna. Okay, so there is a center for Channapatna toys. These are wooden toys now, but imagine AI being integrated in them. So it builds a conversational aspect, a generative aspect that can be built into these toys. So that's one thing that you guys can build on later in the day. And yeah, this is an object that was not created during my Paytm days, but later. But I now believe all of the fintech companies in India do this. Is this sound box? Does anyone know what this does? Paytm sound box?
What does it do? Announces payments.
Yeah, it announces payments. It kind of alerts the merchant as well as the user that the transaction has happened. But this is now kind of one way. Can you imagine how AI can be integrated in it such that it becomes a conversation? So that it's not just about, saying, okay, this person paid this much amount, but can the shopkeeper turn back to the device and say, hey, my stock has been fulfilled, or can you tell me which stock I need to fulfill? Or this particular customer is not buying from me more this month. What is happening? They can do these complex data analysis. They can do stock inventory management. So AI has a possibility in everyday simple objects like these ones in a commercial, in a kind of enterprise scenario as well. And this is Carvan. Probably all of you have heard about this famous brand. It is for like, yeah, all they've kind of got many variations, Tamil variations, Telugu, and multiple other variations. So basically, it has a set of songs, set of I think 5,000 songs, which continuously gets played. But this is again still a one-way conversation that's happening now. Of course, you can control it with an app and stuff like that. But imagine the possibilities of conversational AI-based models in this. So it's not just about hearing to songs and nostalgia, but let's say, can you ask about an interesting story, how the song got formed? Or ask about some stories about Rafi or any other popular singer that you like. So AI can make advantages of these because the web has all these stories and the songs are here and you can combine them and build this conversational aspect. And yeah, I'll keep it quick. All of you might have probably seen your astrology at some point in time, but again, it's been like you go to a person or you go to a particular information source and get that information. But can you work on it or build on it every day and ask these questions every day? Probably your challenges are changing every day. And AI can be these models that kind of scientifically or at least mathematically predict that. So, how can AI impact that? Think about that as well. And finally, these are not just ideas that is somewhere, sometime in the future. Future is already here. It is just that it is sparsely populated. Recently, few months back, I was in a meeting and the speaker was speaking in German. And I didn't understand many of it. I'm in a very basic German level now. And I was wondering if we can have earphones and earbuds which can like directly translate. Of course, Google Translate is there and other apps are there. And a friend of mine and we were like using one of these earphones called Time Kettle, which has this translation, but it was not very, very accurate. But still, the possibility of live translation. Imagine you're traveling to an East European country where you don't even speak the language. You can listen to that language, it can automatically translate and probably even say how you have to respond to it. That is already here. Of course, the level of effectiveness might not be great, but that will slowly improve as the tech improves with it. And also, you have probably seen the news. Meta is heavily investing in their sunglasses with AI technology, and that is also, yeah, going to impact a lot of us, not just with seeing the world, but connecting with others, and also for our, let's say, social media content. So these are objects which are currently there, and all the ideas that I shared that can be in the future. With all of this in place, I also want to kind of bring it to reality. A few years back, I was working in a company called Glance, which is about putting information on your lock screen. And at some point, we were discussing screens are kind of proliferating everywhere in your phones. People are having two phones, three laptops, I don't know, so many other screens. But it's not going to be a world where nobody wants to see a screen everywhere. Similarly, it is not about putting AI in everything. There is a sweet spot between having AI in everything and no AI at all. There is a sweet spot where the users and probably the whole world will arrive at in some point in time in the future. Can you create that balance as well in your ideas, in your design? So that's one thing to have in mind. Second is inclusivity. Jagrati ma'am said in her introduction, when we design something, it's not just only about the average users, but a lot of these excluded user groups, elderly people, people with special abilities, maybe even younger people or people who speak different languages. So how can you include them? This is a very core aspect that you can think about in your design. And then finally, it's about safety as well. Social media at some point was magic. Finding your friends from many years back was magic. But now you understand how social media has kind of derailed, has gone into all these kind of toxic conversations. Probably when we as designers and technological enthusiasts, we were doing it, there wasn't enough guardrails and guidelines to kind of keep these conversations on track. So when you design AI, and this is the early native start of this technology, can you build in these safety aspects as well? So imagine when you even have a Gulu doll with AI, it has a lot of cultural uh, significance to it. So how can you design a system such that these significance stay true to it, as well as you can have these conversations and have these kind of everyday interactions with these objects? So think about these safety guardrails and guidelines while you are designing these new systems with AI. And finally, I want to know what kind of objects you design. I believe the whole day you will be spending time in designing, working with others, forming teams. And I'm curious to know how you imagine AI to be, how you want to transform everyday objects with AI. And probably later in the day, I can reach out to people, reach out to the organizing team and get to know your ideas. So I wish you all the best. And we are in the cusp of a new journey with new technology emerging. Make use of this, ride this wave, and I wish you that you emerge on top of it. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Navirajan. So I'll quickly see if there are any questions for you from.
Yes, please. Any questions?
I'll just quickly see if there are questions from our young participants here.
Yeah, feel
Are
free
there
to ask any questions. All
questions?
questions are good questions, so don't worry about it.
Are there any questions? I can help you. Well, Nambi, I have a question which I think will
Yes,
maybe
yes, please.
trigger some of these. You have seen best of both the worlds. You are in Germany right now. You all often come to India to visit home. Um, what is the best thing that you see in Indian scenario today that you feel that can change the country to a better place, or it has just started and it can be help people lead a better life in India.
Yes, man, that's a good question. Thanks for asking that. One thing I miss here is the kind of entrepreneurial vibe that is there in India. There is a lot of young population there, a lot of people with great ideas there. And you guys are in the great place to make these ideas to reality. And you can also go to the people have these kind of research completed and build stuff that actually makes a difference. When you come to I mean, one thing that I realize about Europe, it's a lot about regulations and the guidelines, and paperwork is kind of like crazy. Just to come kind of here and work here, you have to go through a lot. So even to start companies there takes a lot of time, and then there are, yeah, a lot of paperwork to complete. But in India, yeah, the time from having an idea to kind of launching a product, I feel is shorter. You can kind of do that very quickly. And of course, all of these products may not succeed, but out of these 100 products, probably there'll be one product that can actually transform people's life. And that, creating that with the people there, with the kind of knowledge that we have in our younger community, with the people, with the tech people there, is very much possible. And that's something that I would say is very unique to India. And yeah, we need to work on it. We need to kind of build these intellectual property, which also we don't focus much on. We need to work on our ideas and create those properties and then transform the world with it.
Rajan. And another thing is what I really liked about your presentation today is I'm really very glad that you brought Indian heritage, and you are discussing the aspects of how do you preserve the cultural heritage for the children who may be living outside the country, not getting really a good clue of how traditions are to be followed. I think that's a huge a place where interaction designers can play a very good role. Not just interaction designers, but I think any designer, because we
Yes.
have a bountiful of these experiences which we had as children. But I think somewhere like people like you who are now living in outside the country must be really feeling that much more. So I think that's coming out very straight from your presentation, that there's a huge area for us to work on.
Yes.
Bring culture to people who really want to engage with. That was very lovely from the presentation that we looked at.
Thank
Uh,
you.
do you really think, Nabi, that um, the objects that are tied to heritage can become more engaging for the younger generation
Yes.
if we use AI or these newer tools?
Yes, very much. So thanks for bringing that aspect. This is actually very much based on my life itself. So we live in this apartment community complex in Berlin, and recently we had someone who came to kind of help, an elderly lady who came to help their son and daughter for their they just got a new baby. And she kind of became integral to our community in the last few weeks. And then she started saying stories to our kids, to the Indian kids over here, about Ramayana and Mahabharata. And we realized that we are missing that in our daily life. And even for children in India, there are probably hundreds and millions of children there who don't have grandmothers who can say these stories and pass that cultural aspect to the kids. So imagine if you had Hanuman figurine, and that is enabled with AI, which can say the story of Ramayana and also even interact with you. That would be a magical experience for me, and that could really help also, like I said, transfer these kind of cultural stories and heritage that we have from one generation to the next. Because probably, as all of you know, we are going into these bubbles even more. Even within families, there are like so many bubbles. So how do you bring that cultural storytelling within this, in this kind of an atmosphere? uh, yeah, you imagine having a conversation with an Hanuman figurine, and then it engages in a conversation with you about your life, your challenges, how Hanuman, stands for strength and for being supportive to people around him. So that kind of an aspect maybe can be guiding you in your life. So that's how I see AI can be used for cultural traditions and heritage, taking it forward to the next generation.
That was lovely hearing from you, Navya. And we will again have many more such discussions, even when you're here. Yeah, I think there's one question. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello, Satvik. So while we're like designing Android objects and integrating AI with it, how do we kind of consider the cost factor and make it more accessible economically?
All right. So how do you make it like considering the cost factor, make it economical? This is a question probably happens because we are in the very early stages of AI adoption. If you look at solar cell like as a technology, right? 20 years back, the cost of a solar panel would be like sky high. It's not the same now. So, what I would suggest is not consider the cost of production or cost of creating it for now, because these technology is going to be more and more affordable as we go along. Maybe it's now it looks like a yeah very expensive scenario, but it's like solar cell technology in like 20 years ago. It might be expensive now, but 20 years from now, it's going to be like as as widely spread like a smartphone. Smartphone at some point was like a touch screen, probably in the 90s and the early 2000s was like so expensive to build, so expensive to use. But it's not like that, right? It's now sitting in your pocket. So similarly, imagine if AI is in your pocket, 20 years from now, it is going to be affordable. So while you are starting to imagine now, it's kind of like, of course, it has to be rooted in reality, but at the same time, you need to imagine freely, like kind of imagine a greenfield approach. Imagine if these technologies are affordable at some point in time, how would they can impact people, like create positive impact for them, and then design for that, and the cost at some point will take care of itself.
Yeah. Thank you. One more question now, Navi.
Yeah.
Hi, sir. So I have recently had an experience to try the Ray-Ban smart glasses. As
How was
far
it?
as the experience was very good in terms of how they have integrated the technology in their glasses, but I would not say the experience was very pleasant for me because the moment I tried those glasses on, it was very uncomfortable from the point that I could hear sound just so close to my ear, and I had this very uncomfortable experience of some sort of heaviness on my head. So that got me into thinking that when we are integrating AI with objects that we wear or things that we use daily, how do we keep in mind the factor of safety in terms of our health or safety in terms of usability when we consider other things around us?
Got it. Great question. That is very correct, right? As in, even I was using I think a Meta virtual headset, and within 10 minutes, I was feeling a bit dizzy, and I couldn't like proceed with it for a lot of time. And again, kind of connecting back to the previous question, technology at the early stages is probably going to be a bit jarring as well. And we as designers are have to take responsibility for it. Maybe when you are starting to pitch this innovation, whatever you are building, you have to kind of set expectation and say, okay, this is something that can cause these kind of issues. So if you are having these kind of issues, you probably should not use them. These are simple guidelines that you can set upfront that can kind of provide the space for you, the affordability for you, or for the technology to have these kind of issues as well. Plus, also again, it's early stages of Ray-Ban, early stages of virtual headsets, early stages of AI as well. Probably we are going to make some mistakes and learn along the way, but start thinking about how you can kind of guide the users about these aspects and inform them about what can happen for these kinds of scenarios so that they can make an informed choice. The problem is only when you don't inform them about these kind of experiences and then they experience by themselves, and it becomes an issue. Even in ChatGPT, if you see, they say very in a smaller font, ChatGPT can make mistakes to kind of take care of the fact that AI hallucinates sometimes. It provides wrong answers sometimes. So yeah, that is an aspect that we need to take care of. What kind of mistakes can happen, what kind of ways this new tech can create issues when it's being used, but how do you also build a guardrail for it? How do you create guidelines so that it stays within a safer space?
Yeah, very true. So I think our students, we have a course where we look into immersive environments, and our students may work on a lot of projects using these technologies. And these are, you very rightly pointed out, these are very relevant questions for a lot of these aspects. And we as students and institution try to push technology because we want to show what technology can do, but it's not always that the scenario is in the right. And as you said, it's still developing. Taking a little while to develop because of all these reasons that we talked about. So I'm sure if we get time, we can share with you some of the projects that our students have worked in this space, and they have been able to handle and tackle these issues that you've been talking about. But thank you very much. Thank you, Nabiranjan, for
Thanks,
your
ma'am.
insightful session. We found this remarks.
Thanks, ma'am. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening, and I want to know what you guys build. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And so our next speaker would be Shreyan Ghosh. Shreyan, we would like to hear from you, your experience and some great advice and good funny anecdotes that you can share with us related to the topic. Over to you.
Thank you. Am I audible? Good. Everything's good. Thumbs up. I can't see. Just let me know if I'm not. So I thought Ganesh was going to go next. So funny enough, like I joined NID in 2014, and when I was trying to figure out more about interaction design, the first person I reached out to was Ganesh. Ganesh and Nambi both are my seniors. And I had reached out to him on LinkedIn or something, I remember. And I was like, hey, how is this design for digital experience? They're changing it to interaction design. So yeah, about me, like I think I did my bachelor's in architecture, and right after architecture school, I wanted to pursue interaction design. It was my sister who, like, I was very involved with tech in general, like always very like interested in tech. And my sister was the one who kind of like pushed me to explore this course. And ID is like super hard to get into, but somehow luckily I just like got selected. Yeah, and then it just was the right fit for me, like the course, the people. I think Jagriti ma'am, Mamta ma'am, like it was just like at that point of time, it was like the best guidance I could have gotten. So yeah, it was just such a phenomenal experience. Like every time now that I work at YouTube right now, so I lead identity on the UX side for all of YouTube. And looking back, I think one of my most interesting and fun times in terms of like interaction design projects and stuff has always been at an ID. Like uh, if there was like, I don't want to start with advice, but if there's any advice I can give students, it's like now is the time when you can truly explore like all the possibilities that that tech has, that your field has. And so I would just constantly encourage, like, try out as many things as you can, explore as many things as you can. Yeah, that would be my only advice. Like, having done those design projects in college, when I was like so stressed and like in terms of like delivering on a particular timeline and whatnot. But like, once I joined the industry, I realized like how much freedom there is when you're exploring, and how much you can truly push the boundaries, and how difficult it is, because when you're working somewhere, you're faced with real life constraints. So it's often very hard to really push the boundaries in organizations, especially large organizations. Um, so yeah, about me, I started at Google as an intern. My internship was through NID. I was one of two designers on Google Pay, which was, at that point of time, Google was trying to get in to the market. As Nambi mentioned, Nambi was at Paytm, I guess, at that time, and Paytm was the thing in India at that time. And we were trying to do something very different from Paytm. We were trying to like really build out what UPI is today, and Google was trying to build out its own version of UPI. Like, we had deals with the banks, and we were trying to do it. And then, as Nambi mentioned, with demonetization, like, that hit us right before we were launching, and we had to like pause the launch, really think about what's going to happen. And then UPI launched, and we essentially piggybacked off UPI, which was like a more open source thing of what we were building. Um, so yeah, that was a very fun experience. In like, it's crazy to see like we call it a 0 to 1 product. Like, we had no product and we built a product. And now, like, when I go home, like, I see like sometimes I don't have cash and people want GPay only, which is completely weird, because that was like this audacious, like this crazy goal that we had in the beginning when we were starting off. That was the goal. We were like, we want to get rid of cash completely. And India is, at that point of time, is such a heavy cash driven market, still is, I guess, to some extent. uh, but like, credit cards and debit cards were not really a thing that people used. So that's truly what we were after. Um, so and after that, like, I worked on Google Cloud for some time in Bangalore, in the Google Bangalore office. And then later they moved me here. Then I've been working at YouTube since 2019. Started off in the identity team. Now I lead the team. It's been like 6 years. Some say people it's been way too long. I think so too. Like, it's been almost like, it's going to be 9 years in Feb, so it's going to be a long, long time. But I learned a lot. So my topic is, I don't have a presentation. I just like, I took notes in a notepad, and I'm just like gonna talk about like my thoughts. Like, this was a very interesting like trigger, like the prompt, which was around like objects and AI generally. And like, I was trying to see like, okay, in terms of identity, what is the identity flavor that I can bring here? Um, some context here is like, the stuff I do at YouTube around identity is like, if you take a step back and think about like all the different types of people who come at YouTube. um, Firstly, like, you have like regular viewers. You're like the bread and butter of YouTube, who are like kind of coming in, like watching videos and consuming content. But then you have all these people uh, who are in the comment section, who are engaging with the content. It's like, not just, you're not just watching a video and going, you're like commenting and engaging. You're showing some effort around engaging with the content. Then take it a little step further, and someone is uploading a short. Right there, it's like this first or second form of creative action that you take. Like, you upload a short form video, it's like you're playing out, you're trying to see what happens, what doesn't happen. And then you try to take that one step forward, and you become a creator. You're like now really producing like long form content. And to some extent, you want to grow and now make YouTube your career. And then you grow really, really large, and now you become like as big as like your own company. Like, you went from this freelancer to a company. Now other people are working for you. You have to produce videos on a weekly basis or something like that, and you're making a proper living and earning out of your content. And take that even one step further, and like you're now talking about Disney, you're talking about like all these mega brands who own like multiple content houses. So how, like, our whole thing is about building an identity state. Like the same identity state needs to match this person who is truly viewing and just trying to comment something on a video, to Disney who is producing videos and content on YouTube. So it's like the same identity system has to like evolve and kind of meet the needs. So it's like that's kind of like the challenge that we deal with. Sometimes based on like the business goals and the priorities, we are building features for one group versus the other, and then we are really trying to connect multiple groups to get more engaged on YouTube. The craziest thing with YouTube, it's like we have around 3.5 billion people who visit the platform on a daily basis. So like building for this bigger scale becomes really, really challenging. So there are like, for if you're building for a product where there are 10 people visiting, your approach to design would be very different than a product where 100 people are visiting. So it's like, it's when you keep increasing that scale, there were lots of thoughts around like privacy and safety that were being brought about. That becomes more and more important as you put more and more people into the funnel. Okay, I want to start with like this topic. So the first thing I wrote about is like, okay, so if you want to close your eyes, close your eyes. If you don't want to close your eyes, just think, just introspect. Think about a time when you were at home living with your family. Like it could be yesterday, it could be like a week back or something, or a month back. But think about who you were. Think about who you were around your family members, how you acted with them, what you dressed, how you were around when you were around these people. Now change that environment. Now think how you were with your friends. Now think about how, like, if you're an NIDian at Bangalore, think about how you are in Platinum City, like with your friends, with your with like who is that person, how you are dressed, how you're talking to your friends. um, is that the same person with like who is in front of the family members? Probably not. There are like things that are different here and there. There are multiple scenarios. Now think about Microsoft is coming to NID or to interview you. Think about who you are when you're like interviewing for Microsoft. Like think about how you're dressed, think about how you're talking, and who is that person? Is that still the same person? Like, are you still behaving the same way like you behave with your friends, or are you behaving the same way like you behave with your family? And think about all these other aspects of your of your culture. Now compare this right now where you are, like all of you are interested in the topic, in today's topic. Some of you may know each other, some of you may not. Like I hear there are people from outside who have also come. So while there is some connection, like all of you are here gathered in that room because you are here for this talk, today's interaction design day, all the workshops, activities and stuff like that. So it's around some kind of like mission or topic, that why you are here. And now say after all of this, you guys go out to like Orion Mall or something, and there's a stand-up comic, or you watch a movie or something like that. You consume some broad content, and think about who those actors are in that movie, and who you are, and what your relationship is with that. So if you just think through like who you are in each one of these scenarios, what would be interesting is that you would see like the person, while you yourself are the same, like how you interact and how you're like behaving with each different scenario is very different. Like who you are with your family and who you are with your friends is very different than who you are right now in that room, like with some strangers in that room, and you're listening to me, and you're listening to Nambi and Ganesh and everyone. So now let's translate these identities. Like let's take these identities and translate these on digital products, right? So with your family, WhatsApp, let's say WhatsApp, I'm sure everyone has a WhatsApp group with their family members. Sometimes it's annoying good morning messages or whatever, but like I'm sure there is like who you are on that group or in that chat thread around WhatsApp is very different than who you are on Instagram. When you're sending memes to your friends over DMs, that person on Instagram is very different than the person who is chatting with their mom or dad or family members on WhatsApp. Now think about who you are on LinkedIn. So that's like your office persona, like your professional. You're saying like, hey, I go to this college, I study this. This is my portfolio. These are all the stuff that I've done. When you talk to people on LinkedIn, you're different. You're talking very professionally, and you're talking about like topics and work stuff. But when you're talking to your friends on Instagram, it's very different. Think about Reddit or think about like a YouTube comment section. You watched a video or there is a community in Reddit and you do not know anyone else around you, but you're there because you are tied to because of that topic or because of that community that is being built. So this is that community aspect, which is why you're here. Like you're all tied here to this talk or to this day. But like think about who you are right now in that platform. So what like so if you now think about like two areas where, and then like lastly, like think about like you're watching YouTube or watching Netflix or watching a movie, and think about the creator, think about that same stand-up comic maybe on YouTube, or think about watching something there. The two areas where your identity didn't really matter that much, meaning by that I mean like who you are, who you truly are, right? Like how you look, how you are dressed, how you're how you're acting or whatever. The two areas where this doesn't matter too much, your identity, or your to know your identity rather, is when you're trying to build community, when you're not building community, when you're tied to each other through community. Meaning something like this: right now the person next to you, if you didn't know them, if they were not your friends, if they were a complete stranger, you wouldn't care how they're dressed, you wouldn't care how they look or whatever, because you're simply in that room and you're here for a discussion. You're here, you will ask questions, someone else will ask questions, and that's how you guys would be connected with each other. And the same thing for like that same stand-up comic or that movie thing. Like it does not matter whether you know that actor in real life or not. What matters is like you really interact and communicate, connect with the content that the actor is pursuing. So that's kind of like the main thing that I would like to bring up. So if you think about, it's a slider where on one side it's content, which is like something like this: you're just listening, it's one-sided, it's like I'm talking, Nambi's talking, Ganesh is talking, and you're just listening. You're just like, you're here. If I get too boring, you will like leave the room, but the content is the only reason why you're in the room. And on the other side, think about your family members, and like when you're talking to your friends, identity matters so much more. If your friend, you need to know everything about your friend in order to open up, in order to really connect, and in order to really push that connection through. So if you think about a slider, on one side it's like its truest form of identity, and then the other side it's the truest form of content, like what really matters. Like it's like, for when you push identity more towards identity, things that matter are get connections. Like you're messaging someone, you need to know who you're messaging. Whereas you're consuming content, you probably do not need to know who I am as a person, but you probably need to associate with what I'm saying or what the content is at some level. That's only when you will stick around. So yeah, so like the whole idea here is like, you are only participating in these kind of forums as long as the content is good, and in certain forums you're only participating as long as the identity truly is good. Now move back again to the physical world. You had all these like digital things, now move back to the physical world, but now move like put the year like, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years down the line. Okay. Nambi works for Volkswagen, which is news to me, but great. I'm a huge fan. But there, think about like everyone having driverless cars everywhere. In San Francisco, where I live, there are driverless cabs that you can take. They're called Waymos, and you can literally go from any place to any place in the city. Like it is mind-boggling that to even think about like there's no one in the car, but there's truly is no one in the car, and it can navigate through everything, every scenario, people walking, stopping, all of that, right? So it is not that bleak of a future that everyone in India, like all the cars are now suddenly driverless, for example. In that, so if you're in that world, and you get inside one of these cars, right? You're just, think about like you're in an Uber where there is no driver, or think about it's your own car, it's your own transportation medium, and there is no driver, right? Who is your driver? Like, who is driving? Like, what is that identity of of who is driving you? Like, is it always going to be as bland? Right now, if you enter a Waymo, it says like, hey, hello, welcome, and it will like just take you and drop you off to the next place. But like, if everyone has a driverless car in the future, like, what is the distinguishing factor between like your car versus your friend's car, or versus the Uber you like taking versus the Ola someone else likes taking? uh, can there be like, will there probably be personalities? Like, will that be a thing in the future where like each car has personalities, or you have a personality that you associated with, and you like that more, and that's why you prefer that car? If every car is the same, maybe the thinking would change around like less about the car and more about what the car offers in terms of personal connection. um so that's kind of like the object angle of it. So if you think like maybe a Honda is a very different than a Hyundai or a Kia or something like that, they talk different to you, they react differently to you. So here's my like humble prediction. Like, AI is growing at a rate which is unfathomable. Like, I kind of went through, when I was growing up through the iPhone era, and 2007 iPhone came out. I'm like a huge Apple fan. Like, I love Steve Jobs, and kind of like thought through, like many people. And like, this is growing, I can definitively say like 10x faster. Like, what AI could do last year is significantly different than this year, and like it's a completely different world building for AI. So yeah, so like, my humble take for the future is closer groups where you and your friend, those groups will get even closer. Like, where groups where your identities matter, like groups where you need to really definitively talk about your identity, those will get really close, like even closer. You and your friend would be like this. And groups where, areas where identities don't need to matter that much, meaning like you're consuming content, you're surrounded around a community, it would get even broader. You would find your own niche. Like, you would go into Reddit or YouTube, and you would find content that just appeals to you and probably one other person. It does not need to appeal to the masses. It will be super personalized and hyper personalized. So that's how I think, the future would kind of like evolve in terms of spaces, and when you think about identity. So thinking back about that slider, I have a few thoughts, something to think about for this group. That slider where on one side it was content, meaning identity didn't really matter, and the other side was these family groups and identity really matters. What happens when you push that to the extremes? Like, what happens then? What happens when the slider is all the way into content, or the slider is all the way into identity? What happens then? What would those worlds look like? You like Nambi mentioned this, the cultural aspect. How do cultural aspects change when your identity becomes like front and center, when the content becomes front and center, when identity doesn't matter? How does those things change? Uh like what would Diwali look like if if you knew everyone very, very deeply versus if you didn't know anyone who was attending, who was there at Diwali. So it's like, it's something to think about. The other big thing about inclusion is like, who gets to participate in these experiences? Like, who decides that you will be able to participate in that versus someone else. And lastly is around safety and privacy. Like, if something that is, if someone knows everything about you, how, like, what are you, like, what's your privacy, like, like, who are you private to, if you're, if you are already in this, living in this world? And are we really looking at a future where we are building rituals rather than services? Like, are you truly going to be designing a whole ritual, like you wake up and you get into that car and the car has a funky personality? Is that the business that you're designing, or are you designing the car itself? So it's like, I think like that's how things might evolve in the future. That's it. That's my time. Thank you.
Lovely, Shreya, and you put me everywhere. I've actually gone to all the places around while you were talking, and I've come back. And yeah, rightly so. There are. It's a very challenging times we are in. If I look at the younger generation, um, I don't think people even mind their personal lives on social media anymore. So I think we are changing. And that's a very, for me, it's very dreadful. It's something very alien behavior, but it may be a different life for the younger generations. I see people getting up with with the selfie and sharing what I'm doing now, how did I get up, what am I eating, where am I going, everything. So I don't know what's going to be the safety and security. Is it really required, or it's another level of challenge that we are into? So times are changing very, very fast. When you put me into the space where and I really thought about the Indian context of a driverless car. And you brought a very interesting question: who is driving you? And then there will be people in India who will say, "Bhagwan, hame jahan le jaye, hum chale jayenge." Right? So I think there's a whole culture. So you'll find one driverless car which is where Krishna is adorned on it, and you hop onto where your beliefs on Krishna is much more, and you feel that Krishna is the savior, and otherwise Durga is the savior. So I think things are going to be different, but when we talk about cultures, it is going to shape the way your society is expecting or having it, right? So, Shreyam, where is the designer's role?
I think that's the interesting part, right? Like, I spoke about the rituals bit. Like, are you just like, if I was in design school and I was designing something like this, we would be so focused on like, some app is there and I'm trying to, like, how do I interact with the car, like how do I put the destination and whatnot. But like, that mindset is changing, because now all of that is feasible. Now all of that is like, kind of, it's kind of like being able to pinpoint someone on maps. Like, earlier it was, GPS was a challenge. Now with GPS everywhere, what's the next challenge? I think like that's where this becomes super interesting. Like, what are these rituals? Like, the Krishna thing is super interesting. Like, I didn't think about it, but like, yeah, India would totally evolve like that. There would be a huge section of the population that would evolve like that, or would prefer that even, over other cars. So like, it's like these things. I think like the people who are going to be successful are who are going to be able to like really identify these things and translate that into a meaningful way into these kind of products.
Let's hear from the students who are here who would have any questions for Shreya. Yeah.
Um,
Can I just show the audience here?
yeah, hi sir. Thank you so much for the talk, first off. So I actually have two questions. First of all, it's a very new term that I heard from you today, which is an identity team, which is what you're leading right now. So if you could just throw a little bit more light on what exactly goes on in being part of the identity team, because that's something very new that I've come across.
Sure. So I can talk specifically for YouTube, like um,
Whole name was
stuff like. Sorry, can you hear me? Okay. So stuff like some things that we launched recently. There was this project we work on called Handles, which is nothing but usernames, right? So it's a established concept. It's there. It's like every platform has it. But for YouTube, we never needed it. Like we always had these like large form creators, and like when you wanted to search for Tanmay Bhatt or like anyone else, you would find them immediately. So it was not, you didn't need any kind of like unique identifier to search these large creators or these large actors or anything like that. But the industry for us at least changed when TikTok came to the market. In India it's banned, so I don't know if that's the like how much of TikTok you guys use, but like TikTok is kind of like the short form video introduction that has happened. But like Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts were the response to that, right? Like we needed to quickly evolve because at least in the US and rest all over the globe, TikTok were like the short form video thing went like caught on really really fast. So now we are suddenly talking about like YouTube. If you think about like what the ratio was earlier, it was like one creator with 500 viewers. That was the ratio. Like every creator was kind of like 500 viewers. That's how much we had. And TikTok had a creator viewer ratio of 1 is to 15, meaning there were every viewer, almost every 15th viewer was creating content, which was crazy. And that's why your need to identify someone uniquely became so much more important. um, Now how do you release something like a unique username for a platform that is already established? If Tanmay Bhatt did not get at the rate Tanmay Bhatt and someone else who just came to the platform first and claimed it, is that fair? Is that reasonable for the viewer? Probably not. Will Tanmay Bhatt not freak out? Like it's kind of like that. So how do you really ensure like all these large established creators get the handle, the unique username that they want, while ensuring everyone else the thing is fair, the thing is transparent, and like and logical. So that was kind of like the challenge. And then I brought out scale. The unique challenge for YouTube was like we have 5 billion channels on YouTube, so we needed to give a unique identifier to 5 billion channels. If you even think about giving someone a number, if I said you're number 7 and the person next to you is number 14, someone in this room would be like, no, I want to be 14. Like there wouldn't be any logic, but someone will say, I want to be 14, I want to be 7. So like how do you like really come up with principles around like why you're 7 and why you're 14? So it's super interesting. So that's kind of like one thing. And then obviously like we are like your how you appear on the platform, like avatars, like communities. Like we are looking at communities within platform. We are looking at like how do you, like when you go to someone's channel page, like it's been kind of like not so loved. Like how do you really evolve that channel page and make it meaningful for like larger brands? Like if you go to like I don't know, Tanmay Bhatt. I'm using that example too much, but like if you went to his channel versus someone else's channel, like how would that shift? So yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Actually, the second question was, I'm taking YouTube again as an example because it's a huge platform where multiple personas are accessing it. So I wanted to understand when you're coming up with new features for such kind of brands or organizations, how do you organize the data based on the kind of, people that are using these platforms? Like how YouTube Shorts came into picture, I'm sure it didn't came out of just the blue. It might have been a thought process. So how do you accumulate that data and analyze the kind of consumers that are using such platforms?
I would say like it's very, very similar to what we learned in college. I don't know if you are part of the interaction design course here or not, but like generally in interaction design, like one of the key things is human-centered design, right? Like you talk to users and you find out what their gaps are and you find out what they need, and then you build for them. That's kind of in fundamentally principle wise, that's how that is. So and then in, I don't know, I think it was like design project 2 or 3, it was like we had to learn qualitative research versus quantitative research, which is metrics versus focus groups and you're in one-on-one interviews. It's the same process here. Like if I'm like, when I, for example, with handles, I am talking to one-on-one with like with smaller creators. Yes, we have more resources. There's a dedicated person who's a researcher who's doing that. In college I was doing both, but like you're still getting those insights, and then you're also seeing how your product performs in the in your feature performs in the market. So like your, like our launch process, for example, like if I want to build a feature, I can't just like launch it to every single person on YouTube. We have a process, and in that process, first you launch it to 1% of all of YouTube, and you measure all your metrics. You measure like, okay, are people leaving the platform, are people still watching, are people engaging with this feature or not? If everything looks good, then you scale it to 10%, then you scale it to 50%, then you scale it to 100%. This is like a, that's kind of like the quantitative aspect of it. There's quantitative aspect of the research, where like you're not only getting feedback one-on-one, but you're also getting feedback from large scale surveys. You're like something that was super unique was like we wanted to see if pseudonymous names are necessary for YouTube versus real names. And there was this one research we did with just countries in Europe and US and India, which like India is our largest market. And we just found like people who prefer, we were like, people prefer pseudonymous names. You would want to be pseudonymous. Why would you want to put your real face, real name on YouTube? And the numbers came back crazy, like where it was like the people who want real names really wanted real names, and people who wanted pseudonymous names really wanted pseudonyms. So it was like this two passion groups who did not want each other, but they both wanted to exist on YouTube. And that's kind of like why we have to build kind of around that as well.
Thanks so much.
Cool.
Thank you for asking interesting questions. Yeah, Harsh, please. Can you show Harsh?
Hello. Yeah. Hi, Shreyan.
No, this camera Logitech. Yeah, वो भी कर सकते हैं.
Yeah. I'll start with my question. It's slightly something that's making me wonder, like on a personal level. So I'm someone who is like really active on both realms, physical and
zoom out
digital.
कर दो.
So I'm like very mindful of the connections that I make in my physical space. And I'm also someone who posts frequently, but also at the same time quite actively. Um, so when you talked about the metaphor of it being a slider, that one side there's content and one side there's identity that we're seeking. I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle. But my different take on this is, which is coming the question, is that are we really like just modern day equivalents with chai rugby or pandal hopping or gully cricket, or are we just endlessly scrolling and swiping and texting people? So, like, is it really the way we're moving forward, or are we just like going in loops back and forth?
It's a great thought process. I didn't think of it that way, so that's super cool. You're probably right. Like in a world where there was no digital intervention, people were probably going in circles, and then once these digital apps came in, people are going in circles. So like, so something to think about is that, do people go around circles because they want to go around in circles? Is that human nature, or like, or is it that it's an outcome of these processes? Are those pandal hoppings, is pandal hopping causing people to go in circles, or people just want to go in circles and they want avenues to go in? So that's something to think about. Like, I'm not saying is one way or the other, but like it's something definitely to think about. And the other thing would be like, now if you're building for a world like this, and if there's like heavy AI intervention and stuff, like you could think about a world where AI just stops you from going in circles. Would you like it or would you not like it? Like you want to needlessly scroll and some AI, your like mentor or something goes in and says like, nope, you're not going to do it anymore. You want to like chat with someone and someone says like, nope, you're like, you should focus on this, or you should, would you like it? Is that, and if you did that at scale, if everyone in this room was prevented from needlessly scrolling, what would happen? Like, would you like, is that like, would your anxiety, depression go up, go down? I think like there's also like positives and negatives for everything. Like your, like people are needlessly scrolling because there, it probably gives some kind of endorphin, something, some dopamine release, something is happening, right? That we realize, somewhat not realize, everything's happened probably in the last 10 years, so like people are still figuring it out. But yeah, like something to think about. But great question, like I didn't think about it that way at all. So yeah.
Yeah, I think, are there any more questions for Shreyan? Yeah, but I think Shreyan, you brought a very interesting, it's an interesting thought process. There are a lot of ideas that I think some of our students must be getting from this discussion. It's a never-ending discourse that we can have, right? But also, I think we should catch up sometimes, and such discussions should be more often we can have as teams. Yeah, with that, Shreya, thank you very much, and very delighted the kind of work that you're doing. And I'm very happy that the connection with academia and your work is still there, and you've been practicing what is being taught here. I'm very, very happy to hear from you. Yeah, so with that, we take up our last but not the least presenter, Ganesh. Are you ready?
Yes, thanks for giving this opportunity, Jagrati ma'am, and uh, a happy good morning. And I know we kind of ran out of time, so I'll try to keep this pretty crisp. So, hey everyone, I'm Ganesh. I'm basically a developer turned designer. I've been in the industry for like 10 years. My most recent company is Eightfold, where I've been designing a lot of enterprise AI systems. I've also made like a very small presentation. I also want to keep it interactive, but short at the same time. Let me just share it. I hope you're able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I mean, basically, I've been, like I said, designing enterprise AI systems, which means that I spend a lot of time convincing algorithms not to act like one coworker who always says, I'll take care of it, but never explains how. Now, when I say objects, what comes to your mind? Like coffee mugs, post-its, maybe your phone. But in design, right, objects are those little digital things that shape how we feel about technology. Like it could be badges, buttons, notifications, suggestions, etc. Right? Like a quick show of hands, how many have of you have felt stressed just by seeing the red notification badge on your phone? From any of these apps. Exactly right. That's the power of an object. And with AI in the mix, these objects aren't just passive anymore. They are nudging, they are suggesting, sometimes even deciding, right? So our job is to make sure they empower and not overwhelm. Now, some of the most powerful design, as you know, is actually invisible, right? And that's why sometimes it's very hard to track the success or impact of designs, right? Because they are so natural, and because of that, they're also invisible. Now, think about unlocking your phone, right? Like second nature, or WhatsApp typing indicator, just three dots that can make or break your day, right? Or smart compose of Gmail, finishing your sentences like an overly eager intern. Now, let me ask, how many of you have typed, then stopped just to watch the other person panic when the dots disappear? Exactly, right? So, guilty pleasures. Now, in enterprise tools, the same thing applies, like autosave in Figma or Jira, that little confirmation bar, right? That in DocuSigns, if you've noticed, progress tracker gives you the confidence that your signature didn't vanish into the void. Now, invisible objects build trust by showing just enough without shouting. Without them, the system feels actually dead. Now, raise your hand if you've ever smashed the elevator closed door button, even though you know that it doesn't work. Exactly, that's how much we crave invisible feedback, right? Now, trust. When AI makes a recommendation, say for hiring, a recruiter won't accept, trust me, this candidate is great, right? They need to know why. Skills, experience, context, that's the transparency. Now, how many of you here have ignored Netflix or YouTube's recommendations, right? Just because you thought, no way, you don't know me like that, right? Or sometimes get scared, while opening Instagram in public because of the recommendations that you've given signals for, right? So without context, even good recommendations fall flat. And inclusivity isn't just optional, right? Accessibility is like seat belts. It's not just a luxury feature. Without it, adoption really suffers. Now, on an enterprise context, just by improving the color contrast, right? Like dashboards can be made way more usable by a lot more people, right? Simple change, big adoption impact. So black box AI, it's suspicious. Transparent AI is trusted. Now, without transparency, AI is basically just saying, trust me, bro. And in enterprise, that's not like a solid pitch. Now, balancing automation with human judgment, right? Automation is fantastic, but judgment has to be human. Now, think about autopilot. It lands planes, but we still clap for the human pilot, right? Nobody claps for the algorithm. Now, let's do a quick poll. Like, how many of you have ignored Google Maps when it rerouted you, right? Only to just regret it 5 minutes later. Yeah, so as we've all been there, and that's the point, right? So AI should suggest, but it should not dictate. And in enterprises, this matters even more. Like AI flags anomalies, but auditors decide. AI surfaces candidate matches, but recruiters decide. AI suggests next best actions in sale, but reps decide. Now, if AI takes over fully, it won't just make mistakes, it'll make them at scale. And scale mistakes are the scariest kind, right? Imagine an AI chatbot telling your biggest client, right? I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Now, that's not a bug, it's a resignation letter, right? So, where does this leave us? Now, objects are no longer passive, they are active participants, but they should be invisible when helpful, transparent when critical, and always designed to safeguard human agency. Now, because automation is powerful, but judgment will always be human. So let me ask, how many of you would actually trust a AI boss? I'm sure, me neither, right? So if we get this right, our enterprise tools will not just be systems that people have to use, but they'll be systems people want to use, right? So the idea is to design objects that whisper and not scream, that empower and not overwhelm. So, that's what I wanted to share. And if, AI were to ever take over, my only request is at least let it automate my team sheet, my timesheet first. So yeah, with that, I'll conclude what I wanted to share. I know we kind of ran out of time, but thanks for this opportunity again. Any questions? I'm open to hearing.
Ganesh, thank you so much. You've rightly pointed out very quick. Thank you for being very quick and just scratching everybody's mind here of what people are engaged with in everyday activities. So we will just see quickly if there are questions from or some reactions from students here, participants here. Anything that you would like to, or you can share what three of them have shared some examples in our life right now in using the technology or even otherwise. Is there anything that you have interesting to share with us? Well, if not, that's not a problem. So a couple of questions that our students, if interaction designers have, we can open it for that, for three of them or specifically to Ganesh. But a very quick question that I have, few questions listed with me, Ganesh, and I just try and read one of them to you. When does automation make interactions easier? And when does it risk making them frustrating?
Got it. So, I mean, in from my experience and my perspective, anything that is too manual, right? Like, let's say documentation kind of things. So that time where I think automation really helps because, you're trying to do the same thing over and over again, right? But when it comes to really taking a decision, for example, let's say at least from experience of Eightfold, where we basically suggest the candidates to recruiters based on a math score. The algorithm behind the screen is actually automating, how this works, basically matching them on certain criteria, right? It could be the number of years of experience or the best matching role relevance, etc. So all of this is automated by AI behind the screens. But to actually take a call, that is recruiters, decision. They have to review what AI does, and we've also been building, agents for recruiters to screen candidates faster, reducing their time to hire. So when it comes to that, AI will actually do the screening with the candidate as if a real human is interacting, right? Asking the basic questions like, hey, what is your relevant years of experience? What is your expected compensation, etc. All of these get registered as feedback in the system that the recruiter has to manually review and then take a call, just to verify. That's how they build the trust with AI to see, if it actually makes sense to proceed forward or not. So when it comes to such critical scenarios, I think a human intervention is required.
Share, comment. I think one of our student has. Harsh, please.
Just wanted to ask one thing, like you talked about micro interactions, and that's something that we as master's students, and I'm sure every bachelor student is also sort of learning. There's a very subtleness required to perfect how micro interactions are consumed by the users and who we're designing for essentially. But we also feel like I mean, it's a personal thing, but I also feel like is it moving towards laziness? Are certain features a certain way that we access the features? Is that moving towards inducing a lot more lethargy and us just wanting things on the go? How would you position that? And in an age where everything is becoming so automated, uh, how would you, as a designer in the industry, sort of work around this?
Yeah, so I would say micro interactions definitely. I mean, I would not relate them to wanting to feel lazy, but they are super important for causing user delight, right? I mean, I'm sure you would have all used apps where you felt certain sort of delight, right? Like, um, I mean, I could think of a lot of examples. Like one quick example that I can think of is in Swiggy or any of these Insta Mart apps, right? Like the moment you hit a point where you have enough amount in your cart, that it quickly tells you that you've unlocked free delivery. Now that's a micro interaction moment where you feel happy. Oh my God, okay. Now I don't have to pay extra for delivery, right? These are super important for causing delight and definitely not laziness. But if you have a specific example where you thought that, the specific micro interaction actually made you feel lethargic, I would be interested to hear.
I think I have something to share in what you Harsh quickly asked. It's very interesting. So now I see we have our digital life and we have physical life. I see them as two distinct, right? We also kind of mix them when we have used digital technology to do our jobs much easier than what we used to do. One of the example is the banking. If you remember, your parents or grandparents would go to bank to for any withdrawal of money or anything. But you guys, I don't think many of you must have seen bank in the near times. But the beauty would be to keep those experiences, and I understand what Harsh you are talking about. We can't just be enjoying one life and negating the another just because we want to have everything easy. So, in the youngsters' language, easy peasy. But But as soon as you enter the bank, the experience there in the bank, the facilitation to the user in the bank, if that is being taken care, so I think that delight moment can be transferred to the physical space as well, which some of them are doing great work. But I think we still find these banking a very confused activity in the physical and as well as in the, why I'm saying confused, because they are doing a lot of things. So half of things can be done here, half you can go online and you do fill your form and do that. But if you want completely, then your form's length is the same as what you do in the physical space. So I think we are not getting that sweet spot where we say that today I make a judgment, of course not in Bangalore, but in any other city, I can go to the bank, spend 10-15 minutes time, see little few faces here and there, talk to some people, engage with them, and then do my task as well. So I think these are also some of the aspects that one can look at going forward, being, and I'm talking about Indian context. The context changes when you are into a different place. Yeah. So this was just an addition. So,
That's
thank
actually
you very much, Shreya, Ganesh, and Nambi. It was wonderful having you here, and we loved your presence. I loved hearing you, and I'm sure all of us the students also did. But I think we should do such events more often, or if not events, we should have this flexibility of getting you online sometime for discussions. By the way, before we kind of conclude this, we have 3 male members here today. It's just that we could not get female members, but there are lots. And next
Ma'am, there
time,
is a word for it.
I will have a 50-50% participation, right?
Ma'am, can you hear me? There is a word for it. They call it manels. They call it manels. A panel with all men members are there. It's called manel.
Today, in fact, all of us, our students also didn't wanted it that way, but it just happened. See, sometimes we want to make the event on a particular day and time, we don't get an access to what we really need for. So, with that, thank you all. The students have something to say. All right, thank you, and we'll see you again.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.